The weight on Megan Collins's left hand was heavy and felt wrong. She became aware of it before she opened her eyes, a foreign heaviness wrapped around her finger, cold metal pressing against skin that had never worn jewelry there. Her head throbbed with the kind of pain that suggested tequila, bad decisions, and a complete absence of memory. The sheets beneath her were too soft, the mattress too firm, and the air smelled like expensive cologne and something darker, leather, gunpowder, danger. Where the hell am I? Megan's eyes snapped open. The ceiling above her was Corford, painted in rich cream with gold leaf detailing that probably cost more than her annual teacher's salary. A crystal chandelier hung like a frozen waterfall, catching the morning light that streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows. She bolted upright, and the silk duvet, slipped down to reveal she was wearing a white lace negligee she'd never seen before in her life. Her breath caught. Her hands flew to her body, checking, remembering nothing, panic rising like bile in her throat. That's when she saw the ring. A massive diamond sat on her left ring finger, surrounded by smaller stones that glittered with the kind of fire that screamed real and expensive and what the actual hell. The band was platinum, engraved with words in Italian she couldn't read. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she twisted it, pulled at it, it didn't budge. I wouldn't do that if I were you. The voice came from across the room, deep, accented, laced with amusement and something that made her spine straighten with instinctive fear. Megan's head whipped toward the sound. A man stood in the doorway of what appeared to be a walk-in closet larger than her entire apartment. He was tall, maybe 6'3", with broad shoulders that filled out a crisp white dress shirt he was buttoning with casual precision. Dark hair, perfectly styled. A jaw that could cut glass. Eyes the color of espresso that tracked her every movement with predatory focus. A thin scar ran from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone, the kind earned, not given. He was devastatingly handsome in the way dangerous men often were. The kind of handsome that came with warnings you ignored at your peril. Who the hell are you? Megan demanded, clutching the duvet to her chest. Where am I? What? Franco, he interrupted smoothly, crossing the room with the fluid grace of a panther. Franco Almoda. And you're in my home. Our home, technically. As of, he glanced at an expensive watch on his wrist. Approximately 9 hours ago. He stopped at the foot of the bed, and Megan noticed the matching ring on his left hand. The room tilted. What? The word came out as a whisper, barely audible over the rushing in her ears. Franco reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, tossing it onto the bed. It landed near her knees. Even from a distance, she could see the official seal, the signatures, the word certificate of marriage printed across the top. We got married last night, Moglieme, he said, and though his tone was light, his eyes were anything but. In a lovely little chapel off the strip. You wore a white dress. I wore Tom Ford. You cried during the vows, happy tears, you said. We had our first dance to Dean Martin. Very romantic. No. Megan shook her head violently, ignoring the spike of pain the movement caused. No, that's not, I don't even know you. I was at Katie's bachelorette party, we were at a club, there were shots, and The memories were fragments. Neon lights. Music so loud it vibrated in her chest. Her best friend Katie screaming with laughter. A strange man with kind eyes buying their group around. More drinks. Too many drinks. A dare. A bet. Walking down a street with someone's arm around her waist. Laughing. And then. Nothing. Complete blackness until waking up here. I need to leave, she said, throwing back the covers and swinging her legs out of bed. The negligee barely covered her thighs. This is insane. This is, where are my clothes? My phone? I need to. Sit down, Megan. The command in his voice stopped her mid-motion. She looked at him, really looked, and saw something in his expression that made her blood run cold. This wasn't a man accustomed to being disobeyed. This was a man who expected compliance and got it. How do you know my name? She whispered. His smile didn't reach his eyes. You're my wife. Of course I know your name. I know quite a bit about you, actually. Megan Elizabeth Collins, 28 years old, high school English teacher at Roosevelt High in Seattle. You have student loans totaling $83,000, credit card debt from your mother's medical bills, and you're 3 months behind on rent. You came to Las Vegas for your best friend's bachelorette party with exactly $400 in your checking account. The accuracy of it, the invasion of her privacy, made her stumble backward. You investigated me. I married you, he corrected. Due diligence seemed appropriate. I didn't marry you. I don't remember any of this. That means it's not legal, it can't be. It's very legal, Franco interrupted, his voice hardening. You signed the license. So did I. We had witnesses. A very enthusiastic Elvis performed the ceremony. Nevada law is quite clear on the matter. He paused, tilting his head. Though I understand if you don't remember. You were spirited. Enthusiastic. You told me I had Mafia energy and that it was super hot. Megan's face burned with humiliation and terror in equal measure. This has to be some kind of mistake, she said, but her voice cracked. An annulment. We can get an annulment. The marriage can't be valid if I was drunk, if I didn't. We consummated it. The words hung in the air like a gunshot. Megan's knees gave out. She sat down hard on the edge of the bed, staring at him in horror. What? Franco's expression remained neutral, unreadable. That does complicate the annulment process, doesn't it? I don't believe you, she said, but even as the words left her mouth, she became aware of the unfamiliar soreness in her body, the way her muscles ached in places that suggested. Oh God. Why? The question came out as a sob. Why would you do this? What do you want from me? Franco moved then, walking around the bed until he stood in front of her. Up close, he was even more imposing, power and danger wrapped in expensive fabric and the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no. He crouched down, bringing himself to eye level, and the gesture was somehow more intimidating than if he'd loomed over her. What I want, he said quietly, is for you to be my wife for the next 6 months. You'll live here, attend events with me, play the role my family expects. In exchange, when our arrangement ends, I'll pay you $5 million and clear every debt you have. The number was so absurd she almost laughed. $5 million, you're insane. I'm practical, he corrected. And you're desperate. Don't pretend you're not. I'm offering you a way out of the hole you've been drowning in. All you have to do is wear that ring and smile when necessary. And if I refuse? Megan asked, though she already knew the answer would terrify her. Franco's smile was sharp enough to draw blood. Then I'll make sure your life becomes significantly more complicated than it already is. I'm a powerful man, Megan. I have resources. Connections. The kind that can make problems, or create them. He stood, looking down at her. But it won't come to that. Because you're a smart woman. And smart women know when they're holding a losing hand. He walked toward the door, pausing at the threshold. Breakfast is at 9. I suggest you shower and dress. Your clothes are in the closet, I had them brought in. We have a lot to discuss about our new marriage. His eyes glittered with something she couldn't name. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Almoda. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a prison cell locking. Megan sat frozen on the edge of the bed, staring at the marriage certificate, at the ring that wouldn't come off, at the gilded cage she'd somehow walked into while too drunk to remember. And one question burned through her terror. Who the hell had she really married? The shower was obscenely luxurious, rainfall head, body jets, marble everywhere, and water pressure that felt like a massage. Megan stood under the scalding spray for 20 minutes, scrubbing her skin until it turned red, trying to wash away the previous night that refused to come back to her. Trying to wake up from whatever fever dream this had become. It didn't work. The ring still glittered on her finger, mocking her with every movement. When she finally emerged, wrapped in a towel that probably cost more than her couch, she found the walk-in closet Franco had mentioned. It was the size of her childhood bedroom, lined with clothes still bearing designer tags. Her size. All of them. Dresses, casual wear, shoes arranged by color and heel height. In the corner, she spotted her actual suitcase from the hotel, a battered roller bag that looked pathetic among the luxury. She grabbed it like a lifeline. Jeans. Her favorite worn sweater. Sneakers. Armor of normalcy. As she dressed, her phone, which she found charging on the nightstand, because of course Franco had thought of everything, exploded with notifications. 73 missed calls. Over 200 texts. Most from Katie. Katie, where are you? Katie, Meg, seriously, this isn't funny. Katie, the hotel said you didn't come back last night. Katie, I'm calling the police. Katie, Megan Elizabeth Collins, answer your damn phone. The most recent was from 15 minutes ago. Katie, if you're dead, I'm going to kill you myself. Megan's fingers trembled as she typed back, I'm okay. I think. Can't explain. We'll call soon. The response was immediate, call me now. But Megan couldn't. Not yet. Not until she understood what kind of nightmare she'd stumbled into. Not until she could explain the inexplicable. She scrolled further back, past Katie's increasingly frantic messages, and found texts from herself. Sent between 2 and 3 a.m. Megan to Katie, OMG, I met someone. Megan to Katie, he's gorgeous. Megan to Katie, and rich, and he looks at me like I'm the only person in the world. Megan to Katie, we're going to do something crazy. Megan to Katie, don't wait up, winky face. The messages made her stomach turn. That enthusiastic, reckless person wasn't her. Megan Collins didn't do spontaneous. She didn't do crazy. She was the responsible one, the planner, the woman who color-coded her lesson plans and had never gotten so much as a detention in high school. But looking at those texts, at the photographic evidence of her own words, she couldn't deny it. Some part of her, the part buried under student loans and medical debt and the weight of being everyone's reliable rock, had wanted this. Had wanted to be reckless for once in her carefully controlled life. And now she was paying for it. A knock on the door made her jump. Mrs. Almoda. A woman's voice, accented but warm. May I come in? Megan wanted to scream that she wasn't Mrs. Almoda, would never be Mrs. Almoda, but instead she heard herself say, yes. The door opened to reveal a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, silver hair pulled into a neat bun, and the posture of someone who'd spent a lifetime in service but maintained her dignity anyway. She carried a tray with coffee, toast, and fresh fruit. I'm Rosa Corleone, she said, setting the tray on a small table near the window. I manage the household staff. Mr. Almoda thought you might prefer breakfast here rather than in the dining room. Given the circumstances. Her eyes held sympathy that made Megan want to cry. He can be overwhelming, that one. Does he do this often? Megan asked bitterly. Marry strangers. Rosa's expression shifted, surprise, then something almost like amusement. No, Mija. In all my 20 years with the Almoda family, I've never seen Franco bring home a wife. You are unprecedented. Lucky me, Megan muttered. Rosa moved to the windows, opening the curtains fully. Beyond the glass, Megan could see manicured gardens that stretched toward the desert horizon. Mountains in the distance. They were still in Las Vegas, then, or just outside it. He's not a bad man, Rosa said quietly. But he's not a simple one either. His world is dangerous, Megan finished. I got that impression. Complicated, Rosa corrected. She turned, studying Megan with eyes that seemed to see too much. But perhaps that's what he needs. Someone who doesn't come from that world. Someone real. Before Megan could respond, male voices echoed from somewhere downstairs. One was Franco's smooth baritone. The other was rougher, younger, tinged with barely controlled anger. Completely insane, even for you. Lower your voice, Luca. Lower my voice? You married a school teacher. Some random woman you met in a club. What the hell were you thinking? The Rossini family is going to. The Rossini family is going to accept my choice, just as they'll accept my bride. The words were steel wrapped in silk. A door slammed somewhere below. Rosa sighed. That would be Luca Walsh. Franco's younger brother. His, protective. And dramatic. She moved toward the door. Eat something, Mrs. Almoda. You'll need your strength. This family doesn't do anything halfway, not business, not loyalty, not love. She paused at the threshold. And certainly not marriage. When she left, Megan moved to the window, staring out at the impossible beauty of her surroundings while her mind spun with questions. Why her? Why marriage? What did Franco really want? And beneath all those questions, another one whispered, the one she didn't want to acknowledge. Why did some small, broken part of her want to stay and find out? The answer came to her as she sipped coffee that tasted like it cost more than her monthly grocery budget. Because for the first time in 8 years, someone was offering her a way out. Megan had been drowning since her mother's cancer diagnosis when she was 20. 3 years of treatments, experimental drugs, and medical bills that insurance laughed at covering. Her father had left when she was 12, disappeared into whatever life he'd decided was more important than his family. So it had been just Megan, working 2 jobs while finishing her teaching degree, watching her mother waste away by inches. When Barbara Collins finally died, she left behind debt that buried her daughter alive. Megan had tried. God, she'd tried. She taught full-time, tutored on weekends, sold everything of value she owned. She'd applied for loan forgiveness programs, negotiated with creditors, survived on ramen and hope. But every month, the hole got deeper. Every month, she fell further behind. Last week, her landlord had given her until the end of the month. After that, eviction. She'd been applying to summer teaching programs abroad, considering moves to states with better pay, looking at bankruptcy lawyers she couldn't afford. Anything to survive. And now Franco Olmoda was offering her $5 million. The kind of money that could erase every problem she had. That could let her breathe for the first time since her mother got sick. That could give her the life she'd sacrificed to stay afloat. All she had to do was play pretend for 6 months. All she had to do was stay married to a man who radiated danger like heat from asphalt. Her phone buzzed. Katie again. Katie. Megan, I swear to God if you don't call me in the next 5 minutes I'm coming to find you. Megan looked at the message, at the marriage certificate still lying on the bed, at the ring on her finger that caught the desert sunlight. Then she looked at her bank app, at the negative balance mocking her, at the overdue notices filling her email. And she made a decision that would change everything. She opened her messages and typed, I'm in Vegas. I'm safe. I'm married. I'll explain everything when I can. Please trust me. Please don't worry. The response came immediately, what? But Megan silenced her phone and stood, squaring her shoulders. If she was going to do this, if she was going to sell 6 months of her life to a dangerous stranger, she needed to understand exactly who Franco Olmoda was. What he wanted. What secrets lurked behind those calculating eyes. And why he'd chosen a nobody teacher from Seattle to be his wife. She found him in a study that looked like it belonged in a crime movie. Dark wood paneling, leather furniture, and walls lined with books in multiple languages. He sat behind a massive desk, typing on a laptop with the focus of a man who moved millions with a keystroke. He looked up when she entered, and something flickered across his face. Surprise? Approval? It was gone too quickly to name. Megan. I trust you found everything you needed. I want to renegotiate, she said, and was proud when her voice didn't shake. Franco's eyebrow rose. He closed the laptop with deliberate slowness, giving her his full attention. Oh. If I'm doing this, if I'm staying married to you for 6 months, I need answers. Real ones. Who you really are. What you do. Why you need a wife. All of it. She crossed her arms. And I need assurances. In writing. Legal ones. That at the end of 6 months, you'll let me go. No strings. No threats. No coming after me. Anything else? His tone was amused, but his eyes were sharp, assessing. Yes. I want the money put in escrow now. Proof that you'll actually pay me. And I want my friend Katie to know where I am. Her voice cracked slightly, she's the only family I have. I won't disappear without her knowing I'm safe. Franco leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. For a long moment, he simply studied her, and Megan felt like a specimen under glass. Finally, he smiled. A real smile that transformed his face from dangerous to devastating. You're braver than you look, Mowgli Ma. I'm terrified, she corrected. But I'm also practical. You said I was smart. Prove you meant it. Give me what I'm asking for. The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility and threat in equal measure. Then Franco stood, walked around the desk, and extended his hand. You have a deal, Megan Collins Olmoda. Welcome to negotiations with the devil. When she took his hand, electricity shot up her arm, unwanted, undeniable, dangerous. And from the way Franco's eyes darkened, he felt it too. Franco's lawyer arrived within the hour. His name was Theodore Ripley, a thin man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and the demeanor of someone who'd seen too much to be shocked by anything. He spread documents across Franco's desk with practiced efficiency while Megan sat in a leather chair that smelled like money and secrets, trying not to visibly shake. "Standard non-disclosure agreement," Ripley said, sliding the first paper toward her. "You cannot discuss the details of this arrangement with anyone outside of those Mr. Almoda explicitly approves. Violation results in immediate termination of the contract and forfeiture of payment." Megan scanned the dense legal text. "My friend Katie needs to know I'm safe." "She can know you're married," Franco said from where he leaned against the desk, arms crossed. "She can know you're happy. She cannot know about the financial arrangement or the 6-month timeline. As far as the world is concerned, this is a legitimate marriage born from," his mouth quirked, "whirlwind romance." "Insanity, you mean," Megan muttered, but she signed. The next document was thicker. Ripley's expression remained neutral as he explained, "This is the escrow agreement. $5 million has been deposited into a managed account. Upon successful completion of 6 months as Mr. Almoda's wife, including public appearances, family gatherings, and maintaining the appearance of a genuine marriage, the funds will be released to you. Additionally, all debts currently in your name, totaling $116,000, will be cleared within the first month." Megan's pen hovered over the signature line. $116,000. He'd counted every penny of her drowning. The violation of privacy should have made her angrier, but all she felt was dizzy relief. "And if I want to leave before the 6 months?" she asked. "Then you receive nothing," Franco said simply. "And the marriage will be annulled as if it never happened. You walk away exactly as you came, free, but empty-handed." "Define successful completion," Megan pressed, looking at Ripley. "What exactly am I agreeing to do?" The lawyer glanced at Franco, who nodded. "You'll live here, in this residence. You'll accompany Mr. Almoda to business dinners, charity events, and family functions as required. You'll present as a devoted, willing spouse. You'll share living space," Ripley paused delicately, "though separate bedrooms can be arranged if you prefer. You'll submit to reasonable security protocols given Mr. Almoda's business concerns. And you'll keep his confidences." "What business concerns?" Megan asked, looking directly at Franco. "You promised me answers. Real ones. What do you actually do?" Franco exchanged a look with Ripley, who gathered his papers with the air of a man who knew when to make himself scarce. "I'll prepare the final documents for signatures this afternoon," the lawyer said, and disappeared into the hallway. When they were alone, Franco moved to a bar cart and poured 2 glasses of amber liquid. He offered one to Megan. "It's 10 in the morning," she said. "It's that kind of conversation." She took the glass. Franco settled into the chair across from her, and for the first time since she'd met him, he looked almost human. Tired. The weight of something heavy pressing on shoulders broad enough to carry it but worn from the effort. "My family has been in Las Vegas for 3 generations, he began. "We own hotels, casinos, restaurants. Legitimate businesses, all properly licensed and taxed." He paused. "We also have connections to less legitimate enterprises. Money laundering, high-stakes gambling that operates outside legal channels, protection services for those who prefer to avoid official authorities." "You're a criminal," Megan said flatly. "I'm a businessman operating in a gray world," Franco corrected. "I've never killed anyone. I don't deal drugs. I don't traffic people. But yes, I exist in spaces the law doesn't always smile upon." He took a drink. "My father ran the family until he died 2 years ago. I inherited everything, the business, the responsibilities, the complications. And somehow that requires a fake wife." Franco's jaw tightened. "My father promised me to the Rossini family when I was 23. An alliance marriage to unite 2 powerful families. The bride was Valentina Rossini, daughter of Antonio Rossini, who controls most of the East Coast operations." His eyes went dark. "I agreed because it was expected. Because it strengthened both families. Because I didn't believe in love anyway." Past tense. Megan noticed it immediately. "What happened?" "She died," Franco said simply. 4 years ago. Car accident on the Pacific Coast Highway. We weren't married yet, but we were engaged. The families mourned. The alliance weakened but held. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Antonio Rossini has been pressuring me to marry his younger daughter, Sofia, for the past year. To complete the original agreement. To bind our families permanently. But you don't want to. Sofia is 22 years old, fresh out of college, and has no interest in being tied to someone like me, Franco said. She wants to live her life. And I, he paused, choosing his words carefully, have no desire to trap a girl in a gilded cage because our fathers made promises before she could walk. Megan absorbed this, turning the whiskey glass in her hands. So you married me instead. A nobody from Seattle with no connections to your world. Someone who can't possibly threaten the balance of power. Someone Antonio can't control, Franco corrected. Someone who gives me a legitimate reason to refuse his daughter. And someone who, in 6 months, can disappear back to her life while I've bought myself time to find another solution. That's what I am to you, Megan said quietly. A placeholder. A human shield. Franco met her eyes, and something in his gaze made her breath catch. I won't lie to you, Megan. This marriage is transactional. But I chose you specifically because when I met you last night, even drunk, even reckless, you were real. You laughed like you meant it. You told me I looked like I needed to smile more. You asked about my favorite books instead of my bank account. His voice dropped. For 3 hours, I forgot who I was. What I was. And when you said yes to marrying me, even as a joke, I thought, why not? Why not choose someone genuine for once in my calculated life? The confession hung between them, raw and unexpected. Megan's heart hammered. I don't remember any of that. I know. Franco stood, downing the rest of his drink. But I do. And it's why I'm trusting you with the truth now. Before she could respond, the door burst open. Luca Walsh stormed in, and Megan got her first clear look at Franco's brother. Younger by maybe 5 years, with the same dark hair but lighter eyes, hazel instead of brown. Handsome in a rougher way, like he picked fights for fun. He wore jeans and a leather jacket despite the desert heat, and fury radiated from him like a physical force. We have a problem, Luca snapped, then noticed Megan. Oh good, the wife is here. She should probably know her life's in danger. Megan's blood went cold. What? Franco moved so fast she barely saw it. One moment he was by the bar, the next he had Luca by the jacket, slamming him against the wall. You don't speak to her. You don't even look at her until you remember how to act civilized. Civilized. Luca laughed bitterly. You married a stranger to avoid the Rossinis, and now Antonio knows. His people called 20 minutes ago. He wants to meet her. Tonight. At the gala. Franco's expression went deadly. How does he know? How do you think? We have leaks in our organization, we always have. Someone saw the marriage license, someone talked. Luca shoved his brother off. Antonio's furious. He thinks you're insulting him. Insulting Sofia. And he wants to see this mystery woman who stole Vegas's most eligible bachelor. So we show her, Franco said coldly. We go to the gala, we present a united front, and we make it clear the marriage is real. She can't pull this off, Luca argued, gesturing at Megan without looking at her. Look at her. She's a school teacher. She doesn't know our world. One conversation with Antonio and he'll see through this whole thing, and then we're all. I can hear you, Megan interrupted, standing. Her legs shook, but her voice held steady. And I can speak for myself. What gala? Franco turned to her, and she saw real concern in his eyes for the first time. The Desert Rose Charity Gala. It's tonight at the Bellagio. 500 guests, most of them connected to families like mine. It's where power in this city gathers to pretend we're civilized. He moved closer. Antonio Rossini will be there. If we don't show up, it looks like we're hiding. If we do show up, you'll be examined, questioned, tested. They'll try to break you. To find cracks in our story. What story? Megan asked. That we're madly in love, Franco said. That this marriage is real. That you're not some paid actress or strategy, but my genuine choice. My partner. He took her hand, and the touch sent electricity through her system. Can you do that, Megan? Can you look into the eyes of dangerous people and lie convincingly about loving me? Megan thought about her empty bank account. Her eviction notice. Her mother's grave she couldn't afford to visit because Seattle was too far and she was too broke. She thought about the $5 million in escrow. And she thought about the man in front of her, dangerous, yes, but also honest in a world of liars. Using her, yes, but offering fair payment. A criminal by some definitions, but one with lines he wouldn't cross. I teach teenagers, she said. I lie about finding their essays interesting every single day. I can handle this. Franco's smile was brilliant and terrifying. Then we'd better get you ready, Mrs. Almoda. You're about to meet the real monsters of Las Vegas. Luca groaned. We're all going to die. But Megan barely heard him. Because she was too busy wondering what the hell she'd just agreed to, and why Franco's hand in hers felt less like a trap and more like an anchor in a storm she was only beginning to understand was coming. The transformation began immediately. Rosa appeared with a team of 3 women who descended on Megan like a benevolent hurricane. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, they spoke in rapid Italian and English, measuring, assessing, debating. Megan stood in the center of Franco's master bedroom, now apparently their master bedroom, though she'd negotiated for the guest suite down the hall, feeling like a doll being prepared for display. This is insane, she muttered as a woman named Kiara held fabric swatches against her skin. This is survival, Rosa corrected gently. She dismissed the other women with a wave, leaving just the 2 of them. In Franco's world, appearance is armor. You need to look like you belong at his side. Like you chose this life. Her dark eyes softened. Even if you're terrified. Does it show that much? Only to someone who's been where you are. Rosa moved to the garment bags hanging on the closet door. I was 22 when I married Enzo Corleone. He worked for Franco's grandfather. I knew what I was getting into, the danger, the secrets, the life of always looking over your shoulder. She unzipped the first bag, revealing a gown the color of midnight. But I loved him. That made the fear worthwhile. I don't love Franco, Megan said quickly. This isn't, we're not. Not yet, Rosa agreed, pulling out the dress. But I saw how he looked at you this morning. And how you looked at him when you thought no one was watching. She smiled. 6 months is a long time, Mija. Especially when you're playing at something that might become real. Before Megan could argue, a knock interrupted them. Franco entered without waiting for permission. This was his room, after all. He'd changed into a tuxedo that probably cost more than Megan's car, and the sight of him actually made her breath catch. Dangerous men shouldn't be allowed to look that good. It wasn't fair. We need to talk, he said, then noticed Rosa. Privacy, please. Rosa squeezed Megan's shoulder and left, taking the dress with her. When they were alone, Franco's demeanor shifted. The easy confidence from earlier was gone, replaced by something sharper. More focused. He pulled out his phone and showed Megan a photograph, a man in his 60s with silver hair, cold eyes, and the bearing of someone who'd built an empire on other people's fear. Antonio Rossini, Franco said. He'll be the most dangerous person at the gala tonight. His old school. Traditional. He believes in blood loyalty, arranged marriages, and maintaining order through power. Franco swiped to the next photo, a young woman with dark hair and delicate features. His daughter, Sophia. She'll be there too. Megan studied the girl's face. She looked miserable in the photograph, like someone enduring rather than enjoying the formal event. She doesn't want this either, does she? The marriage to you. No. But she won't defy her father. Franco pocketed the phone. Antonio will test you tonight. He'll ask questions designed to trip you up, to find inconsistencies in our story. He'll want to know how we met, why we married so quickly, what you know about my business. What do I know about your business? Nothing, Franco said firmly. You're my wife, not my partner. You know I own hotels and casinos. You think I'm a legitimate businessman who works too hard and travels too much. You don't ask questions because you trust me. He stepped closer. That's your role tonight. The loving wife who's blissfully ignorant of the darker side of things. And if he doesn't believe me? Franco's jaw tightened. Then things get complicated. Antonio has reach. Influence. If he decides you're a threat, Or worse, an insult. He can make problems for both of us. You mean he could hurt me? The silence was answer enough. Megan wrapped her arms around herself, the reality of her situation crashing down like a wave. 24 hours ago, I was grading essays on The Great Gatsby. Now I'm preparing to lie to a crime boss about being in love with a man I don't even know. Then let's fix that, Franco said. He held out his hand. Come with me. Against her better judgment, Megan took it. He led her through the mansion, past rooms decorated with art that belonged in museums, down hallways that smelled like leather and expensive cologne, to a library that took her breath away. Floor-to-ceiling shelves lined 3 walls, packed with books in multiple languages. Leather reading chairs sat near windows that overlooked the desert. A fireplace dominated one wall, though it was too hot to use it. The whole room felt like a sanctuary, separate from the dangerous world Franco inhabited. You told me last night that you could fall in love with anyone who had a library like this, Franco said quietly. He moved to one shelf, pulling down a worn copy of something in Italian. You asked me what my favorite book was. I told you it was The Count of Monte Cristo. You said that explained everything about me. Megan moved closer, drawn despite herself. What does that mean? You said anyone who loves that book is either seeking revenge or redemption. You asked which one I was after. Franco set the book down, turning to face her. I didn't have an answer then. I'm still not sure I do. Why are you telling me this? Because if we're going to convince Antonio Rossini that this marriage is real, we need to actually know each other. Not just facts from a background check, but real things. The kind of details that lovers know. He gestured to the shelves. So tell me, Megan Collins, what's your favorite book? It was such a normal question in such an abnormal situation that Megan almost laughed. You're serious? Completely. She scanned the shelves, finding familiar spines among the Italian and Spanish titles. Her fingers traced the edge of a battered copy of Jane Eyre. This one. I've read it maybe 20 times. My mom gave it to me when I was 13. Why that one? Because Jane refuses to be anyone's mistress or possession. She demands to be an equal partner, even when the world tells her she should be grateful for scraps. She's poor, plain, nothing special by society's standards, but she knows her worth. Megan pulled the book down, holding it like a talisman. She walks away from the man she loves because the terms aren't right. And he has to lose everything, his sight, his home, his pride, before he can see her clearly. Franco was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rougher than before. Is that what you think? That you're nothing special? The question caught her off guard. I'm a high school teacher with debt and no family. In your world, that's exactly what I am. In my world, you're the only person who's been honest with me in years. Franco moved closer, and Megan's back hit the bookshelf. He wasn't touching her, but she could feel the heat of him, the intensity that radiated like a physical force. You think I chose you because you were convenient? Because you were nobody? Didn't you? I chose you because when I asked what you wanted most in the world, you said freedom. Not money. Not power. Not status. Just freedom from the weight you've been carrying. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along her jaw without quite making contact. Do you know how rare that is? Someone who knows exactly what they want and isn't afraid to name it. Megan's heart hammered against her ribs. This close, she could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes, could smell his cologne, something woodsy and expensive. Could feel the pull of something dangerous and electric that thrummed between them. This isn't real, she whispered. We're playing pretend. Are we? Franco's thumb brushed her cheekbone, and she shivered. Because this feels pretty real to me. Before she could respond, before she could process the way her body was betraying her with wanting, the library door banged open. Lucas stood in the doorway, and his expression was grim. We've got another problem. Franco stepped back so fast Megan nearly stumbled. The moment shattered like glass. What now? Katie Palmer. Megan's friend. She's here. Downstairs. Demanding to see her sister, he made air quotes. Before she calls every authority in Nevada. Luca's gaze flicked to Megan. She's also threatening to punch Franco in the face for kidnapping you. I like her. Megan's stomach dropped. Oh God. Katie. She pushed past both men and ran. Katie was in the foyer, facing off against two large men in suits who were clearly security. She had her phone out, filming everything, and her face was flushed with fury and fear in equal measure. "Don't care who he is, I want to see Megan now, or I swear to God." Katie. Her best friend whirled, and the relief that flooded her face was immediately replaced by anger. "Megan Elizabeth Collins, what the actual hell is going on? You text me that you're married? To some guy none of us have ever heard of? And then you don't answer your phone for hours." Katie crossed the space between them and pulled Megan into a hug so tight it hurt. She was shaking. "I thought you were dead. I thought someone had taken you. Do you have any idea?" Her voice cracked. "Don't ever do that to me again." "I'm sorry," Megan whispered into her friend's shoulder. "I'm so sorry, everything happened so fast, and I couldn't." "Is he forcing you?" Katie pulled back, gripping Megan's shoulders. Her eyes were fierce. "Blink twice if you need help. I will burn this place down, Meg. I don't care how rich he is. She's not being forced." Both women turned to find Franco descending the staircase with the casual grace of a predator. He'd smoothed whatever intensity Megan had seen in the library back into polished charm. When he reached them, he extended his hand to Katie. "Franco Almoda. I apologize for the dramatic circumstances of our meeting. And for stealing your friend without proper introduction." His smile was disarming, warm, completely fake. "You must be Katie. Megan has told me so much about you." Katie ignored his hand. "Funny, she's never mentioned you. Not once. In 10 years of friendship." She looked between them, suspicion radiating from every pore. "So explain to me how this happened. How my responsible, careful, plan everything 6 months in advance best friend ended up married to a stranger overnight." Megan opened her mouth, but Franco spoke first. "We met 3 months ago," he said smoothly. "At a conference in Seattle, Hotel Management Symposium at the Convention Center. Megan was there with students on a field trip. We quite literally collided in the hallway. Coffee everywhere. Ruined suits. She was mortified." His hand found Megan's, fingers interlacing. "I was enchanted." The lie flowed so easily Megan almost believed it herself. "We started talking," Franco continued. "Emailing. Then calling. I visited Seattle twice. She came to Vegas once. We kept it quiet because we knew it was fast, knew people would judge. But when she came for your bachelorette party, I couldn't wait anymore." He looked at Megan with an expression that would have convinced anyone of devotion. "I asked her to marry me. She said yes. We eloped the same night because we didn't want to wait. Didn't want the circus of a big wedding or the questions. It was a good story. Believable. The kind of whirlwind romance that happened to other people." Katie didn't buy it for a second. "Megan," she said, ignoring Franco entirely. "Look at me and tell me the truth. Is this what you want?" And there it was, the question that mattered. Megan met her best friend's eyes, the woman who'd held her while she cried over her mother's casket, who'd covered her rent twice when she came up short, who knew every secret and fear and dream she'd ever had. She thought about the $5 million. The freedom. The chance to finally breathe. And she thought about Franco's hand in hers, warm and solid and somehow right despite everything wrong about this situation. "Yes," Megan said, and was shocked to find she meant it. "At least partially. It's crazy and fast and probably stupid. But yes. This is what I want." Katie searched her face for a long moment. Then she sighed. Okay. But I'm staying in Vegas for a few more days. And we're having lunch tomorrow. Alone." She pointed at Franco. "Without Mr. Tall, Dark and Suspicious." Agreed, Megan said. Katie pulled her into another hug. "I love you, you insane person. And if he hurts you, I will destroy him. Tell him I mean that." "She means that," Megan confirmed. Franco's smile was genuine this time. Duly noted. After Katie left, with promises to text every hour and threats to return with reinforcements if necessary, Megan sagged against the door. 3 months, she said. "A conference in Seattle? You made that up on the spot." "The best lies are mostly truth with strategic fiction," Franco said. There was a hotel conference in Seattle 3 months ago. I wasn't there, but I could have been. Enough to hold up to casual investigation. He moved closer. But Katie's right to be suspicious. You're a terrible liar. I convinced her, didn't I? You convinced her because she wants to believe you're happy. Antonio Rossini won't be so generous. Franco's expression sobered. We have 4 hours until the gala. We need to get our story absolutely perfect. Every detail. Every moment of our fake relationship. Because if we don't, things get complicated, Megan finished. You keep saying that. What does it actually mean? Franco's silence was more terrifying than any answer. From somewhere in the house, a clock chimed 3. The sound felt like a countdown. The Bellagio glittered like a jewel box filled with vipers. Megan descended from the car on Franco's arm, wrapped in the midnight blue gown that clung to curves she didn't know she had. Diamonds, real diamonds, Franco had said, sparkled at her throat and ears. Her hair was swept up in an elegant twist. She looked like she belonged in this world of wealth and danger. She felt like an imposter waiting to be exposed. Breathe, Franco murmured against her ear as they walked through the entrance. His hand was warm and steady at the small of her back. You're doing perfectly. I haven't done anything yet. You're still standing. That's enough. The ballroom was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, women in gowns that cost more than cars, men in tuxedos discussing deals worth millions. A string quartet played something classical and elegant. Everything was beautiful and dangerous and fake. Just like her marriage. They, Franco said quietly, nodding toward a cluster of people near the bar. Antonio. Megan followed his gaze and found the silver-haired man from the photo. He was holding court like a king, surrounded by people who laughed too loudly at his jokes. His eyes swept the room constantly, cataloging, assessing, hunting for weakness. Those eyes found them immediately. Showtime, Franco whispered. Then louder, with affection that sounded startlingly real. Let's get you champagne, amore. They made it halfway across the room before Antonio intercepted them. Franco. His voice was warm, but his eyes were ice. And this must be the mysterious bride I've heard so much about. Up close, Antonio Rossini was even more intimidating. He radiated the kind of power that came from decades of making people disappear when they became problems. When he took Megan's hand and kissed it in an old-fashioned gesture, she had to force herself not to flinch. Megan, she managed. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Rossini. Please, call me Antonio. After all, Franco is like family. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Though I must admit, I was surprised to hear about your marriage. So sudden. So unlike our careful Franco to make rash decisions. Love makes fools of us all, Franco said smoothly, pulling Megan closer. Love. Antonio tasted the word like wine that had turned. Yes, of course. Tell me, Megan, where did you and Franco meet? I'm fascinated by the story. Here it was. The test. Megan recited the lie they'd practiced. Seattle. 3 months ago. A hotel conference. He spilled coffee all over me. How charming. And what do you do in Seattle? I'm a teacher. High school English. A teacher. Antonio's eyebrows rose. How refreshingly ordinary. The word was a knife wrapped in velvet. And your family? What do they think of this whirlwind romance? The question hit like a fist. Megan's breath caught. She hadn't prepared for this, hadn't expected him to go there. My mother passed away, she said quietly. I don't have other family. Something flickered in Antonio's expression. Calculation. I'm sorry for your loss. How convenient, though. No one to object to such a hasty decision. Antonio. Franco's voice dropped to something dangerous. Enough. I'm merely getting to know my new friend, Antonio said. Surely you can't object to that. He turned back to Megan. You must wonder what you've married into. The kind of business Franco conducts. The type of man he really is. I know exactly who my husband is, Megan said, meeting his eyes with a courage she didn't feel. Do you? Antonio smiled. Did he tell you about Valentina? The name hung in the air like poison. Franco went rigid beside her. This conversation is over. She should know, Antonio continued, ignoring him entirely. Should know that you were supposed to marry my daughter 4 years ago. That Valentina died in that tragic accident. That you've been running from commitment ever since. His eyes bored into Megan. Until now. Until this nobody from Seattle appears out of nowhere with a marriage certificate. Forgive me if I find the timing suspicious. There's nothing suspicious about it, Megan said, but her voice shook. No. Antonio stepped closer. Then tell me, dear Megan, why did Franco really marry you? What does he gain from choosing a school teacher with no connections, no family, no power? What purpose do you serve? The question she'd been asking herself since she woke up with a ring on her finger. Before she could answer, a woman's voice cut through the tension. Maybe he married her because he actually loves her. Novel concept, father. They all turned. Sophia Rossini stood behind them, stunning in an emerald gown, her dark eyes flashing with defiance Megan hadn't seen in the photographs. She moved to stand beside Megan, a gesture of solidarity that shocked everyone. Sophia, Antonio started. I think it's romantic, Sophia interrupted. Franco finally following his heart instead of doing what everyone expects. Good for him. Good for both of them. She smiled at Megan. I'd love to hear more about how you tamed Vegas's most eligible bachelor. Over drinks, perhaps. Antonio's jaw clenched. But before he could respond, chaos erupted. Gunfire. 3 shots, rapid succession, from somewhere near the entrance. Screams filled the ballroom. People scattered. Franco grabbed Megan, pulling her down behind a table as more shots rang out. Stay down, he commanded, his body covering hers protectively. Through the chaos, Megan saw men in masks entering the ballroom. Saw Antonio barking orders into a phone. Saw Luca appear from nowhere, gun drawn, moving to intercept the intruders. And then she saw something that stopped her heart. One of the masked men pulled Franco's brother aside, didn't fight him, didn't shoot him. Spoke to him. And Luca nodded before the man disappeared into the crowd. Franco, Megan whispered. Your brother. But Franco was already moving, pulling her toward an exit, surrounded by security that materialized from nowhere. They evacuated through a service hallway, leaving the gala in ruins behind them. In the car, speeding back toward the mansion, Megan's mind raced. The attack had been coordinated. Professional. And Luca had known one of them. She looked at Franco, who was on his phone speaking rapid Italian, his face carved from stone. When he hung up, she asked the question that terrified her. Who were they? Who attacked the gala? Franco's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because those weren't Antonio's enemies. Then whose? Franco's silence was deafening. And Megan realized with growing horror that she'd married into something far more dangerous than she'd understood. That the threats didn't just come from outside the family. They came from within it. Franco, she said slowly. Is Luca trying to kill you? The question hung between them, unanswered. The car raced through the desert night, carrying them away from one threat and toward another Megan was only beginning to comprehend. The mansion felt like a tomb. Franco had disappeared into his study with Luca the moment they arrived, their voices rising in heated Italian that echoed through the halls. Megan sat in the bedroom, her bedroom, the guest suite she'd insisted on, still wearing the gown, still shaking from the gunfire and chaos. When the shouting stopped, the silence was worse. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, footsteps. Franco appeared in her doorway, and Megan's breath caught. He looked destroyed, shirt untucked, hair disheveled, a cut above his eyebrow she hadn't noticed before. Blood stained his collar. Is it true? She asked. Is Luca? No. Franco's voice was raw. He wasn't betraying me. He was trying to protect me. The attack was a warning from a rival family. Luca had an informant inside their operation. That's who he was talking to. Relief flooded through her. Then we're okay. We're. You need to leave. The words hit like a slap. What? Franco wouldn't meet her eyes. This was a mistake. All of it. I thought I could control the situation, manage the risks. But tonight proved I can't. You could have died, Megan. Because of me. Because of this world. But I didn't. Next time you might. He finally looked at her, and the anguish in his face was real. I'm ending this. The arrangement. The marriage. I'll pay you for the month, clear your debts, and arrange transport back to Seattle tomorrow. Megan stood, fury replacing fear. You don't get to decide this alone. We had a deal. The deal's off. I'm releasing you from it. Franco pulled an envelope from his pocket, dropped it on the dresser. Cashier's check for $500,000. Enough to start over. Your debts will be cleared by Monday. I don't want your guilt money, Megan said, but her voice cracked. I want the truth. Why are you really pushing me away? Franco's jaw clenched. Because Antonio called me 20 minutes ago. He knows the marriage is fake. One of his people pulled our background. There was no hotel conference 3 months ago, no paper trail, nothing. He knows you're a plant. The room tilted. And? Megan whispered. And he gave me a choice. Annul the marriage immediately and agree to marry Sophia within the year, or he makes you a target. Not just scary warnings, real danger. The kind I can't protect you from. Franco's hands fisted at his sides. So you're leaving? Tonight. Before he changes his mind about letting you go. You're choosing her. Sophia. The alliance. I'm choosing your life, Franco said harshly. Don't you understand? If you stay, you die. That's not dramatic, it's fact. Antonio doesn't bluff. Megan moved toward him, searching his face. And what if I want to stay anyway? What if I don't? The word was sharp enough to draw blood. Don't make this harder than it already is. This was always temporary. Always fake. You were smart enough to know that from the beginning. The dismissal in his tone cut deeper than any threat from Antonio. Right, Megan said quietly. Of course. Stupid of me to forget. She grabbed her old suitcase from the closet, the battered one that didn't belong in this world of silk and diamonds. Started throwing in her real clothes, the ones she'd worn before she became Mrs. Almoda. Franco watched from the doorway. Megan. Save it. She wouldn't cry. Refused to. You're right. This was always fake. I was just a placeholder, a human shield. And now I'm a liability. Message received. She yanked off the diamond necklace, the earrings, dropped them on the dresser. Reached for the ring. It still wouldn't budge. Leave it, Franco said quietly. It needs to be cut off. I'll have someone. I don't want anything from you. Megan abandoned the ring and zipped her suitcase. When do I leave? There's a car waiting. It'll take you to a hotel tonight. Flight to Seattle tomorrow morning, first class. How generous. She pushed past him, suitcase in hand, and made it 3 steps into the hallway before his voice stopped her. I'm sorry. Megan didn't turn around. No, you're not. You're relieved. This was always going to end. At least now you don't have to pretend for 6 months. She walked away before he could see the tears fall. The hotel was nice. Anonymous. The kind of place where no one asked questions. Megan sat on the bed, still wearing the gown, staring at the ring that branded her as someone's wife. Someone's mistake. Her phone buzzed. Katie, saw the news about the gala. Are you okay? Where are you? Megan typed, coming home. You were right. This was a mistake. She was about to turn off her phone when it rang. Unknown number. Hello. Megan. Sophia Rossini's voice. Don't get on that plane tomorrow. How did you? My father is lying. Franco doesn't know the full story. Sophia spoke quickly, urgently. The attack tonight wasn't a rival family. It was staged. By my father. To scare Franco into compliance. Into marrying me. Megan's blood went cold. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't want this marriage any more than you did. And because Franco is walking into a trap. My father isn't going to let him refuse. If Franco tries to marry me, Antonio will. Sophia's voice dropped. He'll make sure Franco can never refuse him again. Permanently. You mean? I mean my father is planning to kill him and take over his family's operations. The marriage was never about alliance. It was about elimination. Sophia paused. Franco pushed you away to save you. Now you need to save him. Before it's too late. The line went dead. Megan sat frozen, the pieces clicking into place with horrifying clarity. Franco hadn't betrayed her. He'd sacrificed himself to protect her. And she'd walked away without fighting for him. She looked at the ring, the one that wouldn't come off, that bound her to a man she'd known for 2 days and somehow couldn't bear to lose. What the hell am I doing? The answer came swift and certain, going back. Megan didn't remember the cab ride back to the mansion. One moment she was in the hotel room, the next she was pounding on Franco's door at 2 in the morning, still wearing the midnight blue gown, mascara streaked down her face. Rosa answered, eyes widening. Mrs. Almoda. Where is he? Megan pushed past her. Where's Franco? In his study, but... Megan was already running. She burst through the study door without knocking. Franco sat at his desk, a half-empty bottle of whiskey beside him, staring at nothing. He looked up when she entered, and the raw pain in his expression nearly broke her. Megan? What are you? You're supposed to be. Sophia called me. Megan crossed the room in 3 strides. She told me everything. The attack was staged. Antonio is setting you up. The marriage to Sophia isn't an alliance, it's an execution plan. Franco stood so fast his chair crashed backward. Sophia told you what? That your marriage to her is a trap. That Antonio plans to kill you and take over your operations once you're legally bound to his family. Megan grabbed his arms. You pushed me away to save me, but you're walking into something worse. Something that'll get you killed. Sophia wouldn't, she can't know. Franco's mind was racing, she could see it. Her father would never tell her about something like that. Maybe he didn't. Maybe she overheard. Maybe she's smarter than he thinks. Megan's voice cracked. I don't care how she knows. I care that you were going to sacrifice yourself without telling me the truth. Franco pulled away, pacing like a caged animal. What was I supposed to do? Let you stay and become collateral damage? Antonio doesn't make empty threats, Megan. If I didn't send you away, he would have. He couldn't finish the sentence. So your plan was to martyr yourself? Marry Sophia and hope Antonio was feeling merciful. Megan laughed bitterly. For a smart man, that's incredibly stupid. I don't have another option. Yes, you do. Megan moved into his path, forcing him to stop. Me. Our marriage. If it's real, if we make it legally and publicly real in a way Antonio can't dispute, he loses his leverage. We tried that. He saw through it. Because we were lying. Megan's hands came up to frame his face, making him look at her. But what if we weren't? What if we stayed married, not for 6 months, but permanently? What if we turned this arrangement into something Antonio can't touch? Franco stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You're suggesting we, what? Actually commit to this? You want to stay married to me? After everything? I want to survive. We both do. Megan's voice steadied. And I think maybe there's something here worth fighting for. I've felt it since the library. Since you told me about the Count of Monte Cristo. Since you looked at me like I mattered instead of like I was a transaction. Megan. I'm not saying I love you. We barely know each other. But I know you're not the monster Antonio is. I know you protected me even when it cost you. I know that in 2 days, you've shown me more honesty than most people manage in years. She took a shaking breath. So I'm asking, do you want me to stay? Not as an arrangement. As your actual wife. Your partner. The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility. Franco's hands came up to cover hers where they rested against his jaw. If you stay, there's no going back. You'll be in this world, the danger, the secrets, all of it. I can't guarantee your safety. Can't promise this won't destroy you. I'm already in it, Megan said. The ring won't come off, remember? Maybe that means something. A ghost of a smile crossed Franco's face. You believe in signs now. I believe in choices. And I'm choosing this. Choosing you. She leaned closer. If you'll have me. Franco's answer was to kiss her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and fierce and tasted like whiskey and fear and something that felt dangerously close to hope. Megan kissed him back with everything she had. All the terror and confusion and unexpected wanting she'd been suppressing since she woke up in his bed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Franco rested his forehead against hers. "This is insane," he whispered. "Completely," Megan agreed. "Antonio will fight us. He'll see this as a declaration of war. Then we fight back." Franco pulled away slightly, studying her face. "You came back. Even knowing the danger, you came back." "I'm a terrible liar, remember? Couldn't pretend I wanted to leave." Megan smiled shakily. "So what do we do? How do we beat Antonio at his own game?" Franco's expression shifted, the vulnerability replaced by the calculating mind that had built an empire. "We give him something he can't refuse. Something more valuable than my family's operations." "What's more valuable than power?" "Information." Franco moved to his desk, pulling out his phone. "Antonio has enemies. Powerful ones. People who would pay dearly to know the locations of his operations, his financial networks, his vulnerabilities." Megan's eyes widened. "You'd betray him to his rivals?" "No. I'd threaten to. Give him a choice, leave us alone and accept our marriage, or watch his empire burn." Franco's smile was sharp. "He respects power. We need to show him we have it." "That's incredibly dangerous." "You asked for a plan. This is it." Franco looked at her. "But it requires you to play the role of your life tomorrow. Antonio is hosting a family dinner. Sofia, Luca, key members of both families. We show up together, united, and we make our position clear. We're married. We're staying married. And if he has a problem with that, we have the ammunition to destroy him." Megan's heart hammered. "He'll retaliate." "Probably. But if we do this right, he'll realize the cost is too high." Franco took her hand. "This is your last chance to walk away, Megan. After tomorrow, there's no exit. You'll be Mrs. Almoda for real. With everything that entails." Megan thought about Seattle. Her empty apartment, her crushing debt, her safe, small life that had been slowly suffocating her. Then she thought about the library. The way Franco looked at her like she was brave instead of broken. The electricity that sparked between them even when they were pretending. "I'm not walking away," she said. "Not from this. Not from you." Franco kissed her again, softer this time. When he pulled back, something had shifted in his expression, the walls coming down, the careful control cracking to reveal the man underneath. "I didn't think I could feel this," he admitted quietly. "Not after Valentina. Not after everything. But you," he shook his head. "You make me want to be the man you see when you look at me." "Then be him," Megan whispered. "And let me stand beside you while you do." The study door opened. Lucas stood there, looking between them with raised eyebrows. "So she came back. Interesting." "We need your help," Franco said. Luca grinned. "Finally. I thought you'd never ask. What are we destroying?" As Franco outlined the plan, Megan felt the fear transform into something else. Determination. Purpose. The bone-deep certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be. Tomorrow they would face Antonio Rossini. Tomorrow they would risk everything. But tonight, Franco's hand in hers felt like an anchor and a promise wrapped into one. "One more thing," Megan said as Luca left to make preparations. "If we're really doing this, if we're making this marriage real, I need to know. What happened to Valentina? The real story." Franco tensed, but he didn't pull away. "She died in a car accident. But it wasn't an accident. Antonio had her killed." Megan's blood went cold. "What?" "She wanted out. Wanted to break the engagement. She'd met someone else, fallen in love, and planned to run." Franco's voice was hollow. "Antonio found out. He couldn't allow the alliance to break, couldn't show that kind of weakness. So he staged an accident. And his voice cracked. "I never knew she wanted to leave. She never told me. Maybe she thought I'd stop her. Maybe she thought I wouldn't care. Franco. I grieved her for 4 years. But I was grieving a lie. She didn't love me. She was trapped. Just like Sofia is trapped now." He looked at Megan. "That's why I won't let Antonio do the same to you. Why I need you to understand what kind of man he is. What he's capable of. Megan pulled him close, holding him while the truth settled between them. We're going to stop him. Together. Together, Franco echoed. And for the first time since this whole insane journey began, Megan believed they might actually survive it. The dinner was held at Antonio's estate, a sprawling compound that made Franco's mansion look modest. Armed guards. Surveillance cameras. The unmistakable message, "You're on my territory now." Megan wore red. Franco had chosen it, a power move, he'd said. The color of blood and Valentine's. War and love. She'd never been more terrified or more certain. They entered the dining room hand in hand. Antonio sat at the head of a table that could seat 20, Sofia to his right, several men Megan didn't recognize flanking him. Luca was already there, positioned strategically near the exit. "Ah, the happy couple," Antonio said, not rising. "I'm surprised to see you, Megan. I thought you'd return to Seattle." "Change of plans," Megan said, letting Franco pull out her chair. "I decided my place is with my husband." "How devoted." Antonio's smile was a blade. "Franco, we need to discuss the annulment. My lawyers have prepared." "There won't be an annulment," Franco interrupted. "Megan is my wife. That's not changing." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Antonio set down his wine glass with careful precision. "I gave you a choice, Franco. This wasn't it. You gave me an ultimatum based on threats. I'm giving you a different option." Franco pulled out his phone, set it on the table. "Walk away from this. Accept our marriage. Or I release everything I have on your operations to the Castellano family." Several men at the table tensed. The Castellano family was Antonio's biggest rival, ruthless, powerful, waiting for any weakness to exploit. Antonio's expression didn't change. "You're bluffing. You don't have anything worth. Warehouse locations in New Jersey. Your offshore accounts in the Caymans. The names of 3 police commissioners on your payroll. Records of your dealings with the Yakuza last spring." Franco's voice was ice. "Should I continue? Or do you need specifics to know I'm not bluffing?" The silence was deafening. "You would betray the code for a woman you've known 3 days." Antonio said quietly. "Dangerously. I would burn this entire world down for her," Franco said. "Test me and find out." Megan's hand found Franco's under the table, squeezing. United front. No fear. Antonio stared at them for a long moment. Then he laughed, a sound without humor. "You stupid, foolish boy. You think threats will work on me? You think I fear exposure?" He stood. "I've survived 40 years in this business because I eliminate threats. Permanently." He gestured. The men at the table rose, hands moving toward concealed weapons. "Father, stop." Sofia stood, her voice cutting through the tension. "Enough. Sit down, Sofia." "No." She moved to stand beside Megan, another power play Antonio clearly hadn't anticipated. "I'm not marrying Franco. I never wanted to. And you using Valentina's death, her murder, to manipulate him makes me sick." Antonio's face went purple. "You know nothing about." "I know everything. I've always known." Sofia's voice shook but held firm. "I was 18 when you had her killed. I heard you on the phone giving the order. I've lived with that knowledge for 4 years, hating you, hating myself for staying silent." She looked at Franco. "I'm sorry. I should have told you. Should have done something. But I was afraid." Franco stood slowly, his expression unreadable. "You knew. All this time." "I'm telling you now. And I'm telling everyone else at this table." Sofia looked at the assembled men. Antonio Rossini murdered his future daughter-in-law to preserve an alliance. What do you think he'll do to any of you when you become inconvenient? Murmurs rippled through the room. Doubt. Fear. The foundation of Antonio's power beginning to crack. "You ungrateful." Antonio moved toward Sofia, hand raised. Luca was faster. He stepped between them, gun drawn and pointed directly at Antonio's chest. "Touch her and die. You're choosing them over me." Antonio's voice was disbelief and rage. "Over your own." "You're not my family," Luca said coldly. "You never were. You were my father's enemy who he tolerated for business. Franco is my brother. And these women have more integrity in their little fingers than you have in your entire rotten empire. The men at the table were standing now, moving away from Antonio, hands raised. No one was willing to die for a man whose own daughter had just betrayed him. Antonio looked around the room, seeing his power evaporate in real time. When his eyes landed back on Franco, they burned with hatred. This isn't over, he said. Yes, Franco said quietly. It is. You have 24 hours to leave Las Vegas. Permanently. Transfer your operations, liquidate your holdings, disappear. If you're still here tomorrow night, I release everything to the Castellanos. And we both know what they'll do with it. You're making a mistake. The only mistake was trusting you not to be the snake everyone warned me about. Franco took Megan's hand, pulling her to stand. We're done here. Enjoy your retirement, Antonio. I hear Florida is nice this time of year. They walked out together, Franco, Megan, Luca, and Sofia, leaving Antonio Rossini standing alone in his dining room, a king dethroned by his own greed and cruelty. In the car, no one spoke for 5 minutes. Then Sofia started laughing. Did we really just do that? Did we actually? You were amazing, Megan said, squeezing her hand. Thank you. For telling the truth. I know that wasn't easy. I should have done it years ago. Sofia's smile faded. What happens now? To me? I just burned my only family. You come with us, Franco said immediately. You're under my protection now. Both of you. He looked at Luca. All of you. That's what family actually means. Luca grinned. So I guess the schoolteacher's staying here? The schoolteacher is sitting right here, Megan said, but she was smiling. And yes, I'm staying. Franco's hand tightened on hers as the Las Vegas lights blurred past the windows. You realize what you've done? You just became a legend. The woman who brought down Antonio Rossini with nothing but courage and a fake marriage that turned real. Not fake anymore, Megan corrected softly. Real. Terrifying and complicated and probably insane, but real. Real, Franco echoed, and when he kissed her, it tasted like victory and promise and the beginning of something neither of them had planned but both desperately wanted. Behind them, Sofia whispered to Luca, "Think they'll make it." Luca watched his brother smile, genuinely smile, for the first time in 4 years. Yeah, he said. I think they will. 3 months later, Megan woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows of the master bedroom. Their bedroom now, the one she'd finally agreed to share 2 weeks after Antonio had fled to Argentina and promptly been arrested on international charges. The Castellanos had been very grateful for Franco's information. She rolled over to find Franco already awake, watching her with an expression that still made her heart skip. Morning, Moglieme, he murmured, pulling her closer. Morning, husband. The word still felt new. Real. Hers. The ring had finally been cut off last month, only to be immediately replaced by a new one. This time, Megan had chosen it herself. Simple platinum, engraved with a quote from Jane Eyre, "I am no bird, and no net ensnares me." Franco had cried when he read it. Actually cried. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Katie, brunch in 20 minutes. Don't be late. Sofia's making mimosas. Megan smiled. Katie had moved to Vegas 6 weeks ago, taking a job at one of Franco's hotels and declaring she needed to keep an eye on things. Really, she'd fallen for the city. And maybe a little for Luca, though both of them violently denied it. Your brother is going to combust if he doesn't ask Katie out soon, Megan said, showing Franco the text. He's terrified of her. It's adorable. Franco kissed her shoulder. We should get up. Sofia will drink all the mimosas herself if we're late. Sofia had moved into the guest house, using the space to launch a non-profit for women escaping dangerous family situations. She told Megan it was her way of honoring Valentina, helping others find the freedom Valentina had died seeking. The 4 of them, Megan, Franco, Sofia, and Katie, had become an unlikely family. Loud, chaotic, fierce in their loyalty. Downstairs, Luca was already at the breakfast table, pointedly not looking at Katie, who was pointedly ignoring him while stealing his bacon. You two are exhausting, Sofia announced, pouring champagne. Just kiss already. Hard pass, Katie said. Absolutely not, Luca agreed. They said it at the exact same time, then glared at each other. Franco and Megan exchanged amused glances. So, Katie said, turning to Megan. Big news. My principal called yesterday. Roosevelt High wants to know if you're ever coming back. Megan had taken a leave of absence after everything happened. She'd needed time to process, to heal, to figure out who she was in this new life. Actually, Megan said slowly, I've been thinking about that. Franco and I have been talking, and she looked at her husband, who nodded encouragingly. I want to start a literacy program here. In Vegas. For at-risk kids who fall through the cracks. Franco's donating space in one of his properties, and Sophia's helping with the non-profit paperwork. Katie's eyes widened. Megan, that's amazing. I'm still a teacher, Megan said. Just teaching in a different way. On my own terms. Franco's hand found hers under the table, squeezing. Pride and love in equal measure. Plus, Megan added with a grin, someone has to keep this criminal on the straight and narrow. Legitimate businessman, Franco corrected. Mostly legitimate, Luca interjected. 70% legitimate, Sophia offered. We're working on it, Franco conceded, and everyone laughed. Later, after brunch dissolved into the comfortable chaos of people who'd chosen to become family, Franco pulled Megan into the library, their space, where everything had started to shift from fake to real. I have something for you, he said, pulling a small box from the shelf. Inside was a first edition of Jane Eyre, pristine and beautiful. Franco, this must have cost. I don't care what it cost. He opened the cover, showing an inscription in his handwriting. For Megan, who taught me that the best love stories are the ones we don't plan. You walked into my life by accident and became my greatest choice. Forever yours, Franco. Megan's vision blurred with tears. I love you. I know it's only been 3 months, and that's insane, but I do. I love you. I love you too. Franco cupped her face in his hands. You saved me, Megan. Not from Antonio. From myself. From a life where I'd stopped believing in anything real. We saved each other, Megan corrected. She pulled him down for a kiss that tasted like mimosas and promise and the future they were building together. When they finally broke apart, Franco rested his forehead against hers. So, Mrs. Almoda. Any regrets about waking up married to a stranger? Megan thought about that morning 3 months ago, the panic, the fear, the ring she couldn't remove. She thought about everything that had happened since. The danger and chaos, yes, but also the loyalty, the love, the family she'd found in the most unexpected place. Not a single one, she said. Best worst decision I ever made. Franco laughed, and the sound was free and genuine and full of joy. Outside, the Vegas sun blazed over the desert. Inside, surrounded by books and love and the family they'd built from nothing, Megan Collins Almoda finally understood what freedom really meant. Not the absence of ties, but the presence of ones you'd choose again and again. She'd woken up in a mansion with a ring on her finger and a stranger claiming to be her husband. She'd found a home, a partner, and a love story worth every terrifying, beautiful moment. And she'd do it all over again in a heartbeat. We have come to the end of the story. Thank you for watching to the end. Share your opinion about this story in the comments below. I like getting feedback from my audience. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our heartwarming stories.